Welcome back to another edition of Hafman Brothers Talking Packers. Coming at you now. I'm Jason Hafman, joined by my brother Ben on the phone. Ben, how you doing this week?
Packers!
Packers. What is it? 2-0. 2-0. 2-0.
Hard to believe. I would have never thought that.
When you looked at Bears and Vikings out of the gate, were you thinking 2-0 or 0-2? 0-2.
I was thinking 0-2. That's what I was thinking.
All right.
So 2-0 was pleasantly surprised.
First, I got to say one thing. We had more people check out the podcast, the first one, than I expected, actually. What did you think?
Well, I expected no one. So if we had one person, that's better than no one.
We haven't had that many officially subscribed. So, in the way these YouTube things work, because we're going to do this on YouTube and we're going to try to have the audio version. But on YouTube, you're supposed to, this is all the YouTuber training says. You have to ask for everyone to subscribe at the beginning of all your videos. Well, I don't really care to do all that, whatever. But it would be nice if some more people subscribed. That'd be cool. But we did have more views than I expected. 40-something. Out there, and then whoever looked at it on Facebook and all that good stuff. So, and then the people that just checked out the audio version. So we're happy to do that. We're glad you hopefully enjoyed it, liked it, got something out of it. The one thing I heard was we were a little low on the energy last week, Ben. So we got to crank it up a little this week, and I got some topics picked out that'll help bring some of the energy and debate, I think. Before jumping into that stuff, I have to backtrack because I looked this up. So remember last week we talked about the low-scoring affair against the Bears in the first week, and then I kind of brought that up. When was the last time the Packers won a game that was that low-scoring? You were correct that there was a 9-0 victory over the Jets in 2010, so you were correct. I thought it was 9-3 originally. But that was not the last time the Packers won that low of a scoring affair. The last time they did it was, get this, the irony is fantastic. It was a 10-3 final in Week 17 of 2010 against the Bears.
That's right.
And that was the game that let the Packers in the playoffs. And then who did they meet in the NFC Championship game? The Bears. The Bears had the opportunity. Remember hearing clips from guys before that game, that Week 17 game? Got to keep these bums out of the playoffs or stuff like that, right?
Yep.
And they lost 10-3. The Packers beat the Bears 10-3 in Week 17 to start that playoff run in 2010. That is incredible irony that in 2019, the next time they win a game 10-3, it's against the Bears. That's awesome. And that led me to a couple other things I wanted to look up just to cover this here, because there's some. Just hang with me for a second. Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. He's got a 17-5 record. I was just thinking about this, like the other teams in the division, they hate Aaron Rodgers, right? They hate him because he owns them. He owns the Bears. 17-5 record in games he starts against the Bears. And one of those games is where they broke his collarbone in the first quarter, which sucked. But then he came back late in the year and beat the Bears to win the division. All that good stuff. That was awesome too, as well. The Vikings have, the Lions also have a terrible record against them, 13-3. The Vikings, who they just played, have a much better record against Aaron Rodgers. He had a little bit more struggles against him. He's 13-7-1 against the Vikings in his career. And one of those losses is where he broke his other collarbone and left the game in 2017. So basically, the deal is the teams in the North can't beat Aaron Rodgers unless they break his collarbone. That's what I've come away with looking up all that stuff.
That could be. I know that when he's not out there, they probably can't win. So that'd be a smart move. Break his collarbone.
And you wonder. I mean, you got to think what's going through guys' heads. I'm sure, they're not thinking about specifically trying to break a bone or something, but would they like to get a big hit on him and injure him and take him out of the game because he's such a problem for them? Probably. And I do believe Anthony Barr had a little of that going on in 17, even though he denies that. But okay, so this led me to a couple other thoughts. I was thinking about the collarbone break, some other things. I just read a story today. Now, this is NFL based, but did you see this, that the Dolphins linebacker Raekwon McMillan said during this last weekend's game against the Patriots, one of the officials told him, quote, to stay off Tom after a perfectly legal hit that he made on Tom Brady at some point in the game. The official told him to stay off Tom. So
I didn't hear this, but I believe it.
Right. And then I started thinking about, okay, Tom Brady, big, quarterback, big star, all this stuff in the league. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback, big star for a long time in the league. Why is Aaron Rodgers not afforded some of those similar protections? I don't see it. I'm going to give you a couple examples, some recent examples. In week 1, the Bears, after he throws the ball, Hakeem Hicks, right, almost tears his helmet off on a tackle after he's thrown the ball and released it, and there's no penalty on that play. Not even a penalty. And it brought me back to some painful memories, like in 2009 in the playoffs, when on the last play of the game, Aaron Rodgers gets his face mask pulled down. No flag, no penalty, right? How many other occasions do we see him take shots, take hits that other quarterbacks, the supreme quarterbacks in the league, usually get a flag, or at least there's some sort of verbal comment from the official of those guys to back off or whatever, but I don't see it for Aaron Rodgers. And why is that? Why?
You want the honest answer?
The mic is yours. Yeah.
He holds the ball too long. It's his fault. Sorry, dude. He's got to get rid of the damn ball.
Yeah,
I'm tired of this crap.
When a guy rips his...
Matter of fact, I'm going to bring it up now.
I agree. Go
I
ahead.
am tired of this crap.
Okay.
As you know, I'm a fan of Chris Sims' Unbuttoned podcast. I listen to it all the time.
I do. You
Chris
like it because
Sims
he swears a lot. He says the F word a lot.
Yes, I like that. I do. I don't like it, but I can relate. But what I do like is this summer he put his top quarterbacks in the NFL together this year. Okay. And he had Aaron Rodgers number 1. So he likes Aaron Rodgers. He thinks Aaron Rodgers is the man. He often says that. Now, he had a hard time. He thought, he should probably, it was tough for him to not put Patrick Mahomes number 1. But he still thought Aaron Rodgers number 1. Now, this last week, I listened to his podcast on Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it was, where he broke down the Packers-Vikings game as one of his deep dive breakdowns. And he said there were 5 or 6 plays where Rodgers could have thrown the ball to the guy who was open in the proper concept play, following the play, and he just didn't do it. And he's trying to go downfield for a bigger play. 5 times at least, maybe 6 times that he did it. And I know you're trying to talk about protection, Aaron Rodgers, and all this other stuff. But he puts himself in harm's way by holding the ball way too long when the play is there. Now, if the guys are covered and there's nothing going on and you got to hold the ball too long, okay, because you're trying to make a play, and he can do it because he's great at it. But this crap has to stop. And I know I talked about this last week too. Chris Sims was saying there was 5 times where Rodgers looked at the dude that was open and bypassed it, trying to find something bigger downfield. And that's the kind of stuff, like, whenever you remember when you would hear McCarthy or even LaFleur this last week in his press conference after the game, he was saying, they asked him, well, what happened in the second half when you guys, kind of stumbled and weren't moving the ball and weren't doing anything, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, oh, we got ourselves in long down distances and whatever. That happens when Rodgers isn't taking the thing that's there and he's trying to make the big play all the time. And when you watch the first 3 drives, and they were awesome, they were doing pitches to Aaron Jones. They were doing, the touchdown pass to Williams, which was based off of that pitch that happened a couple plays earlier.
Right.
It was an awesome concept. It was awesome. I was like, oh my God. Like, McCarthy never did this stuff. Where you run a play, then you run a play that looks just like it, but it's totally different. It's like, if that was just a little dump off, boom, the guy runs 15 yards and scores a touchdown. We talked about it last week where Favre used to do it all the time. The plays are there. And even and Chris Sims is like, even said it. He's like, I love Rodgers. Everybody knows I love Rodgers. But he's got to start taking these plays when they're there.
Yeah, I agree.
Instead of trying to go downfield. And it brings me back to your point, is this. How can you protect the guy when he's constantly putting himself in harm's way? When the play's there, take it. Tom Brady does. That's why he doesn't get hurt. But you were right. Last week in the Bear game, it was a late hit on the head. Almost ripped his helmet off. No call. And it was a 3rd down play, so it should have been 1st down for the Packers, and it wasn't.
Yeah,
these are things that, just so that we don't agree on everything all the time, because otherwise that podcast would be boring. I'm just trying to tell you, hey, this is what I'm seeing, and I get what you're saying, and I agree that, yeah, he doesn't always get protected, but he gets protected more than, like when you watch, like, some, like Andy Dalton or something, he'll probably get his butt kicked. I don't know. Nobody cares, but
Andy Dalton, my new fantasy football quarterback.
Ooh, that's pretty bad.
Hey,
what
look,
you get Drew Brees and he gets hurt.
Yeah, I know. He's old.
Drew Brees.
Yes, and that's the other part. That's probably why some of these things came out with these officials, because as well, a little bit more vocal about it is there's been so many injuries to starting quarterbacks already, and you're only 2 weeks in. And again, how can you make it any easier for the Patriots to get to the Super Bowl again? I mean, the Steelers were supposed to be one of the teams challenging him. They're whatever. Anyway, we just hope
not
that
anymore.
No, I mean, the Chiefs are the only team that might prevent them. But I would think if you're the NFL, God, don't you want to stop seeing the Patriots in the Super Bowl? I do, and I think most people do. But whatever.
I don't.
Ugh, I do.
You know why?
No.
Because the Patriots I like them.
Ah, you like them.
I know it sounds crazy. I actually don't like them, but I mean,
you like Belichick's hoodies. You like it.
I like Belichick's hoodies. I like Belichick's play calling. I like Belichick's and McDaniels. They designed their offense and defense specifically against the team they're going against.
Well, they're the best coaches.
Every week.
They're the best coaches in the league by far.
And Matt LaFleur said something this week at his press conference, because they asked him something about, hey, you're going to get more receivers in there and blah, blah, blah. Now that Trevor Davis got traded, and he was like, we're going to, take a look at the team we're playing, right? And we're going to get the best matchup with the guys we have and put them in the best position to make a play. And that's awesome. That's all I ever wanted to hear.
All right. So what you did was,
hey, that's all right.
You squashed my thing. I was trying to get people fired up about.
You, dude.
Thanks for squashing it. Which you often do with stuff I bring up. And anyway, then, I don't know. I just read that today, and it got me thinking about all that stuff. So that's how we all got there.
It is interesting, though.
It is.
Officials are telling guys to not hurt guys. That's I guess
tell them to not hit him. That's basically what he said. And it
don't even hit him.
Good for this dude to say something about it. He told the reporter about it, and at least some people wrote stories on it, and maybe it'll. We'll see. I mean, I don't think, and Rodgers has publicly said this before too, multiple times, that he doesn't want quarterbacks to be babied and all, and he thinks there's too much protections anyway and all this stuff. Now, if I were him, I wouldn't be saying that, but whatever. So it's not like he wants that sort of thing, but I'm just looking at it like, hey, if you're saying crap about a guy, to guys about a guy like Tom Brady, something like that, then why wouldn't you, have him afforded those same protections? But anyway, you made a good point. He does put himself at risk a lot. I agree. Now we're going to screw this up because I'm going to agree with you on a bunch of those things. I want him to take the short passes, and I know too often he's trying to go for the long passes. The other point that spins off of that is I see the box scores. We don't see all the other games, especially when we're watching the Packers game. But you see all the other box scores, and you see guys thrown for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Guys that aren't even close to the caliber of quarterback that Aaron Rodgers is are throwing for like 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. And you wonder, is he thinking about that too? Like, hey, all these other guys are lighting up the league with passing statistics, and here I am throwing for 200 yards in the first 2 games each.
If I was Matt LaFleur
Man.
or Nathaniel Hackett or who's the quarterback's coach guy again? The guy that used to be the receivers coach.
Luke Getsy.
Yeah, that guy. Show him the plays. It's right there. By you not taking the easy pass and trying to go deeper, that's a drive staller right there.
I agree.
That's a J.K. Scott punt coming in the next play if we don't get it. I think eventually they'll get him on the right page. But for the last 8 years, that's what he had to do, right? He had to make big plays because nobody was open ever.
Okay, I did have one other note because you brought up his name, and only because I went back and I looked at this because I was like, how far did this ball travel in the air? So do you realize that J.K. Scott's punt, his last punt he hit against the Bears to like really flip the field when he was down, it went from his 11-yard line is where he kicked the ball from. Now, this is not the line of scrimmage, but his 11-yard line, and Tariq Cohen caught it at the Bears' 12-yard line. It was 77 yards in the air. That was
pretty cool.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, I just had to throw it out there because when I looked it up, I couldn't believe it. And I went back and I did the math on it. I was like, this really happened? And yeah, anyway, pretty amazing. Okay, sorry. Back on track. Okay. I mean, the Packers got the win. That was the main thing, right? We talked about that. The defense, again, you got up to that 21-0 lead in the game. The defense was awesome for the most part. We had a few lulls, a couple things here and there. The big run to Dalvin Cook was, well, that that made Savage look like a rookie. But even though he's played great most of the time in these first 2 games, but on that one, he, seemed like he was trying to hedge it a little bit too much and figure out where he was going to go. And by not attacking, he just got outrun. And Cook is a fast guy, and he showed it right there. But the touchdown to Stephon Diggs, I was looking at that, and I'm like, Jair Alexander, what are you doing here? That play should have never happened. So it didn't even have to be this tight. But specifically, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Alexander's play. I mean, he played a great game, but I was so disappointed with that play because it's 3rd down and 13. The Vikings are out of field goal range. Kirk Cousins, throws the ball to the end zone, and the only reason he didn't get to it is because he's trying to intercept it, because he pulled his hands and his arms back to his body. If he's just going for the breakup there, and he made a great play to come off of his guy and run all the way over there to get involved in the play. If he just comes over there and swats the ball away, then that's the best play in that situation. And I understand, you can't always know everything, but as a defensive player or an offensive player, you got to know the down and distance. So 3rd and 13, you break that up. That's a better play than getting an interception there. And if he's going to take his game to even that another level that people are saying that they think he's going to get to, then he's got to also bring that mental part where he is making those right kind of plays in the right kind of situation rather than, oh, I want this interception because interceptions are flashy and exciting and all that stuff and everybody wants to pick.
Jair Alexander made a mistake on that play. And he'll learn. He's only a 2nd-year guy. It's one of those things where that's a good teaching tool for him as a 2nd-year player to learn. Otherwise, throughout the game, he gave him 2 pass breakups officially, but I think he had actually more than that. Like, I thought he had way more than that.
I thought he had 4 or 5, to be honest.
I thought he did too, because there's another thing I watched, Baldy's breakdowns, which is Brian Baldinger, who used to be an offensive lineman in the NFL for a long time. Then he's been on he kind of just breaks down plays and stuff. And he's got a breakdown this week about the Packers defense and what they did to the Vikings. And he shows Jair Alexander all over the place, covering Thielen, covering Diggs, breaking up passes. And then he also showed Savage doing all kinds of awesome stuff. I got to tell you, man. You remember when they drafted him?
Yep.
What did I tell you? I told you that guy was going to be awesome. And you know why I knew that? Because Chris Sims, dang it, told me. I trust this Chris Sims guy, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, he
I know his dad is Phil Sims,
right?
But he said Darnell Savage, because when I was getting ready for the draft, I was watching all that stuff, and he was saying, he's like, Darnell Savage, this guy is fast and he's smart and he makes plays and he breaks on the ball and he's always around the ball. That's the other thing. Baldinger showed there's a play where the ball was supposed to go to Rudolph. Rudolph did like a 5-yard hook route, and Savage was supposed to cover him, and Savage stayed with him. And the pocket broke apart, and Cousins decided not to throw it because Savage was kind of right there. But because the pocket broke apart and there was like a lane for Cousins to run, Cousins ran for a first down. But then Savage left Rudolph and went after him, and he saw that he was like the third guy in on the tackle. But that was when he punched the ball out of Cousins' hand. Now, the Vikings recovered it, but it was a smart play. And it was a thing where in the past, when you watch the Packers, if the quarterback broke the pocket and ran for the first down, there might be one guy who'd run over there, or two maybe, to try to tackle him. And on that particular play, there was like 4 guys who all ran to Cousins to tackle him. So that's something like about this defense, and these guys on this defense this year, they're all swarming to the ball, no matter where it is. And that's how the interception happened too, where the Preston Smith interception. I don't know why Cousins threw that ball there. Within a 10-yard radius was Martinez, Preston Smith, and Savage were all kind of around. But Savage got his hand in there and broke it up. It popped up, and then Preston Smith, fell right in his hands. That was another player Savage broke that play up.
Yeah.
The guy's everywhere. He's constantly breaking on the ball all the time. And it's like night and day difference from Clinton Dix. It's like, wow. And it's super exciting to watch that. And Baldinger showed like 3 or 4 plays of him doing that. He showed 4 or 5 plays of Jair Alexander making plays on the ball. These guys are first and second year guys, and they're playing like better than corners and safeties we've seen on the Packers since like Charles Woodson. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. And I have to profess, it's probably my own bias that I'm giving Alexander such a hard time for that play, because I hate watching Stephon Diggs make any sort of play because he's such a cocky piece of garbage. I mean, it's like he takes his helmet off, he makes a single catch, and he's got to take his helmet off. I'm like, and he talks all the time.
First catch of the game.
I know.
First catch of the game.
And he's taking his helmet off and jawing at the fans like he's the greatest thing ever. I'm like, dude, you haven't done anything all day. This guy's bottled you up all game long. Like, get out of here.
Actually, should we maybe go into that too?
Sure.
He did do something earlier in the game.
I don't care.
But they took it away from him. And a lot of Viking fans, I've been hearing about it since I live in Minnesota, they weren't happy. And they're still not happy. And I've had to hear it. And I got to be honest, when you watch the play, not only does Delvin Cook knock out Savage, he actually knocks out somebody else. I think it was Jair Alexander or somebody right before that. He knocked out 2 guys in that play and left a big hole for Diggs to catch that touchdown that was then reversed later.
I've had comments back from some Vikings fans, and they were still arguing against it. And I'm like, look at the play. I mean, the guy there's one thing where you're running and you get in a guy's way, and that's inadvertent. But he ran at the guy and started pushing him back. Like, you can't not just impede the defender's progress. That guy has a right to the space he was in. He ran into Savage where he was standing and then pushed him back. Like, that's easy pass interference right there. Easy. So
now, the sad part is,
you can't argue
for Viking fans, is that probably would have been a touchdown if he wouldn't have done that.
Right.
I don't think Savage could have stopped him. I don't think Savage, even if Savage was there, he was already like in the end zone. Like, Savage was in the end zone on the play, and Diggs would have caught the ball and just fell forward and would have got a touchdown. But that's not our problem. And then people were mad because, and then I said that. I was like, well, that was a 4-point swing. The Packers won by 5 points. And then our other Viking fans were like, yeah, but Diggs was so mad that then when he scored his touchdown, that's why he took his helmet off, because he was mad about the previous play, and then we
What?
get the penalty, and then we missed the extra point. And I'm like, well, that's just dumb. That guy's just dumb, man. And if you think that's the problem is because of that first touchdown being called back, and then he was dumb later, and that's Packers' fault that he was dumb. No, we're gonna lose Viking fans for sure. But this is a Packer podcast. Who cares about that?
Hey, Kirk Cousins is an awesome guy. Love him. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know what the heck,
he was awesome.
I don't know what the heck he was doing playing quarterback this last weekend, but he's an awesome guy. I really like him. I do. I think he's cool,
Yeah,
and he's had he's played quarterback very well in many games, just not this past Sunday, and the one before. Who knows? Because he only threw it 10 times. So I don't know.
Yeah, I've been defending him here in Minnesota for, last year I was trying, because a lot of people were down on him. And I was like, well, he doesn't get much time. Their offensive line's really bad and this and that. I got to be honest, after this game, I can't defend that game.
Well, there was still a lot of pressure on him. There
was pressure. I'm not saying
like
that.
67% of the snaps, the Packers had pressure on him, I guess,
But that's awesome. That's,
yeah.
The Packers are doing great. I mean, Dean Lowry was making, they didn't get a lot of sacks or quarterback hits, but they were getting in his face, and he was, throwing the ball not very accurate, to be honest.
I was going to say, because you brought me there, or brought it to my mind there, was that one guy I was clamoring for the Packers to draft was the center out of NC State, Bradbury, that the Vikings ended up drafting. But man, did Kenny Clark make him look really bad on Sunday.
Kenny was awesome.
Oh,
dude.
my God, he destroyed that poor rookie. He got destroyed by Kenny Clark.
Yeah. I mean, it's so impressive to watch. It's like the exact opposite of what we've seen for the last how many years. The defensive line can get pressure, and the safeties and the corners are breaking on the ball. And I know the Bears and the Vikings offensive lines are young or not that great, one way or the other, depending on what team it is. The Vikings are young, the Bears are not that great. But, I mean, it's something that's really impressive. Now, what scares me, though, is the Bears, when they played them, only ran the ball like 12, 13 times. And like I said last week on the podcast, I was like, I don't know what the Packers' run defense looks like. And I was scared about Dalvin Cook, because I got him on a fantasy football team for a reason, because I know he's good. I live in Minnesota, and I watch the games. He just get hurt every year. And then, sure enough, this week, Dalvin Cook runs for 108, whatever it is, 180 yards, 150 yards. I don't even know. And he ran all over the place. So I don't know if it's that the Vikings have a really good running game, and the Packers just kind of got caught off guard there, or if the Packers' run game is not the best. So I don't know. What do you think? Have you seen anything that's telling you that the Packers' run defense is actually okay, or is it something where maybe it might be trouble?
Yeah, I don't think we know yet, like you said, because one change was, it's a bummer too. Raven Green going down, and he's now out at least till week 10 for 8 weeks. They had to put him on IR, and he played almost exclusively in that opening game against the Bears. And they got the Goodson guy who was cut by the Giants, B.J. Goodson, and he played quite a few snaps in this last game, and it didn't go so great. So
yeah, that's what I heard.
And especially with the back like Cook, or a guy who doesn't need much, it's only one guy that maybe is a little off, and there's an opening, and you're exposed. I think overall they had a lot of good plays defending the run, but then of course there was the big huge touchdown run, and then there were some other pretty good chunk runs, and there were a lot of like 5 to 7 yard runs too. So it certainly wasn't all just in that one big play, but they had some good snaps against it. But I don't know. You got to be sound with that. Who's ever playing those backer positions, and then I think the Vikings receivers block better than the Bears receivers did. I think that's a factor too. But yeah, they looked a little soft on the inside, and Blake Martinez can't tackle everybody. He just He's still at, what do you have, like 14 tackles again or something? But the guy can't get,
Probably.
he can't get everywhere.
He's awesome.
But he's solid. You know, he's not super fast, but man, he's a sure tackler. He's smart, and he's reacting quickly. So, you know, that helps a lot. Savage helps a lot, and I think they'll be okay there. But yeah, we'll have to see. But you know, when we talked about how good Kenny Clark looks, you know, all these things are making sense. Gutekunst is, like you said, we agree with a lot of the moves. You agree with a lot of the moves he's made, and you know, when he let Mike Daniels go, you're like, really? Wow, okay. But then you see what Kenny...
I understood it.
Right, but I mean, still, at the same time, I mean, he's a good player, right? And you cut him a little bit later, so it's not like you saved a bunch of money or whatever. But
Yeah.
But Kenny Clark needs to be on the field almost all the time, and you see other guys like Dean Lowry and people like that playing well, and okay, well, then it all makes sense, okay? And same thing with some of the other moves. I mean, they traded Trevor Davis this week, and hey, I don't even know how that guy made the team the last 3 years, but he was still on the team this year. And finally, I mean, they got a draft pick for him at least, so what the heck? I mean, but still, and it's not all reactionary like some people were talking about how he made the stupid play where he gave a fair catch signal and then went and blocked.
He did fair catch it.
And then he went and blocked a guy, which is illegal. You can't do a fair catch signal and then go block a guy. And some people are talking about that and thinking it was a reactionary thing, but it wasn't. I mean, the guy he didn't do anything good as a receiver until this preseason, right? Yep. And as a returner, I mean, returners are not that valuable anymore anyway, especially on kick returns, because you don't get hardly any kick returns. And as a punt returner, he was inconsistent. He was okay at times, sort of.
Inconsistent is at best inconsistent.
And the other thing he did a bunch so far in the first 2 games was show that he is not very good at reading. He doesn't have good peripheral vision, because he was catching the ball, not calling for fair catches, and catching the ball when guys were like a couple of yards from him. When he was taking some, I mean, and that's just something, that's a feel. That's like a thing you have to be good at if that's going to be your job. And if you're not good at that, and you're not really that good at playing receiver until your 4th year, you start to show some promise. Like, yeah, you're fast. That's great. But it's time to go, you know? And the Raiders apparently the Raiders still love fast guys, because they got another one. They got another one.
That's all right. They can have them. I was going to ask you one thing.
Yeah.
About the Packers' run defense. I've seen a couple interviews with Mike Pettin, and he talks about how they like to use a 5-down lineman. Do you think that could be one of the problems why they're giving up bigger runs against teams, or what? I
think Goodson was more of a concern, and he did play a lot on a lot of those running downs. And maybe we just saw why the Giants cut him, or maybe he just needs to get more familiar with what his assignment is. But he looks, I mean, physically, he's a monster of a man. So you would hope that he could translate that into good football still, but I don't know. He didn't look very impressive, and I think that could have been a big part of it. And then there was a couple things with the secondary guys not coming off blocks or taking bad angles or whatever. So that's basically what I saw. But if anybody else saw something else, tell us, because we'll talk about it. The other thing we had a request to talk about was Jake Kumerow.
Yeah.
Why don't we see Jake Kumerow, Ben? Like, I don't get it.
I don't know.
Guy does awesome stuff. They say how reliable he is. Rodgers likes him. Put him on the field.
It doesn't make much sense when you know the guy catches everything pretty much.
He's a good blocker.
And he does his assignment, and he's not on the field. I don't know. No, he was on the field on Geronimo's touchdown. I know that. But I don't know what else he was. I mean, I'm sure he was out more than that, but
handful of plays. I mean, well, they're running a lot with multiple tight ends, and
right.
I get that Devontae Adams got to be on the field all the time. I get MVS is your number 2 guy, and so in a lot of those multiple tight end formations, You're only going to have 2 receivers. But, I mean, I don't know. I think Jake Kumaro has got a little more to offer than Geronimo Allison does. I think, height-wise, they're close to the same. Kumaro is a little shiftier, and he's a little stronger. I think he's a better blocker. I don't know what else the guy's got to do. I mean, I'd have him out there for sure. And I love Geronimo. Geronimo's great, but I just think Kumaro should be seeing the field more. Trevor Davis was getting a few snaps, so maybe with Trevor Davis gone, Kumaro will get in there a little bit more. But still, it's one of those things where, again, as much as they talk about him, and all the things that have been said about him by coaches, Aaron Rodgers, other players, and to just not use them, it's just weird to me. Okay, Ben, we talked a lot about a bunch of things, including this last game. And remember I told you, because what happens this week, right? Everybody talks about the upcoming game and what's going to happen and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And in reality, all these people know nothing. They don't know what's going to happen in this game. None of us can know because it hasn't happened yet. So they can make projections and think it's this or that, and how many times do they do that, and none of that stuff actually happens. So I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time on our show projecting stuff that we don't know about, but we do to talk a little bit about it. So we're going to more focus on, hey, what we've seen, what we're seeing, what the last game was like, and then just a little bit on the upcoming game. So let's talk about that. This is what I'm excited about for this week, Ben.
Joe Flacco,
who is a statue. Guy cannot run away from you, right?
Yes.
And that Packer pass rush. Ooh, that might be
beautiful.
Nice. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so excited about that. I'm scared about they got a rookie running back or something, Freeman. He's supposed to be, because last year they had Lindsey, and he looked good, and they still have Lindsey, but he's now kind of like getting split time because this Freeman guy is kind of dynamic. So, like I said, the whole running game thing we were just talking about kind of scared me a little bit, but Flacco doesn't scare me at all. So that's great.
Now, I do think that'll happen, especially after the game with the Vikings, that the Broncos, who, they want to run the ball. They've got a good running game. They're going to test the Packers defense to see if they can hold up.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, but it's another home game, right? So it should be good there. They have 3 home games in a row. Is that what is going on?
It's some crazy, it's like 5 out of 6 at home. 5 out of 6 at home here in the first, or in these games after their opener in Chicago. I don't know why the schedule worked out that way, but whatever. It's crazy stuff. I think it's, let me tell you a quick point on that before we go back to the Flacco business, is I think that's actually better, even though some people would say, well, we want those late home games where it's cold and blah, blah, blah. And people, guess what? Nobody likes playing football when it's that cold. All right? No. And the fans don't even want to be out in that stuff. Nobody likes it. So I think it's actually, and you have all these guys playing for the Green Bay Packers who did not grow up in this weather. They grew up in the South or the West Coast or whatever. Like, they like playing football in these type of temperatures. So I think it's actually a benefit to the Packers to be playing these games earlier in the season in Lambeau, and later in the season when it's really stinking cold and they're playing somewhere where it's nicer, or they're playing in a dome. Great. You won't see, because I've seen other years where those guys, especially younger guys who aren't used to it, would play great early in the season, and then they would just wilt late in the season in those cold games. They would not be the same players. And this year, maybe we don't have to experience that, and I'm excited about that. Okay, back to Flacco. If the Packers can get the Broncos in passing situations, if they can get out to a quick start again, then I think they got something cooking. I think they'll have a chance to really not just have a tight game victory like we had the first 2 weeks, but maybe a blowout, fun victory that we can relax a little more and not have to be on the edge of our seat all till the end.
That would be nice. I would like to see a blowout, to be honest. But what's the problem, right? Who are they playing? Broncos. Who's their head coach? Vic Fangio. Who's the guy who can mess up Aaron Rodgers? Vic Fangio. That scares me. Chubb's got 5 sacks already in 2 games.
Oof.
Plus, you got Von Miller.
He's still pretty
been
good.
Great for how many years?
Yeah.
And you remember that Super Bowl when he just destroyed Cam Newton over and over and over again, that
Ugh.
whole Super Bowl, and that's how they won the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Bulaga and Bakhtiari are going to be in trouble. You know, they're going to have to really be on top of things because they're going to have, you know, another 2. I mean, it's just like Daniil Hunter and, you know, Mac. First week, it's like you got all these good defensive linemen, and every week the Packers got to deal with these guys, and there's 2 more really good guys they got to worry about. So it comes down to on offense, did they run the plays right, get guys the ball quick, don't hold the ball for 25 years, don't let these 2 guys terrorize Aaron Rodgers, and, you know, just run the offense and have it click like it did for the first quarter against the Vikings, have it last for maybe 2 quarters. How about 2 quarters? That's what I want to see. 2 quarters of good offense instead of just 1 quarter of good offense. That'd be awesome.
We'll take it. Yeah. And the one thing though that we hope is that we still see that defense hold up and lock people down. So so far we've seen it and it looks promising. It looks good. I do like all those differences we've seen: tighter coverage, aggressive play, quick play, good movement at the line. So I mean, those are all good signs that hopefully that defense is going to still keep being the leader. And we talked a lot more about the defense and not as much about the offense because, hey, when the offense starts doing good, we'll talk about them. But right now the defense is shining.
No kidding.
Defense is what's going on right now for the Packers, and that's why they won 2 games. So there it is. Pick it up, offense. We'll talk a little bit more about you.
Right. Well, we can talk about Aaron Jones.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Aaron Jones had 23 carries. Everybody's like, oh, he can't carry the ball because he's too wimpy or whatever. I don't know what they talk about. Aaron Jones should get the ball 25 times a game. I don't give a crap. He's too good. He still averages 5 yards carry, 23 carries. He was running the ball all over the place. And a lot of times those holes were not that big. And he was making the holes, and he was making the plays, and he was doing awesome stuff. So that's one awesome thing about the Packers offense. There you go. Aaron
That's
Jones.
true. And you know what? You know what I noticed early on and throughout the game is maybe you and I should talk about the future because sometimes we're right. Because you know what they did? They simplified the blocking system.
Yep.
And they
did. What I talked about last week.
Exactly. They did more of that zone where it was just like, okay, move this way, get on a guy. We didn't see all this trapping and all the stuff we saw in the first week. And look at how good it worked. So 2 things. One, that shows Matt LaFleur seems to, at least early on, be looking at making proper adjustments to things that are issues. And number 2, that Ben and I can tell the future, and you should always listen to us.
Well, it just goes to show you that, you know, you don't have to have ever played football to understand football.
That's true.
Because I never played football. So people are like, why do you even have a podcast about football when you never played? Well, here's the thing. Because I never played, that made me study it 5 times more intensely because I couldn't actually play it. And with the help of you, somebody actually did play it, you helped me learn in the beginning, and then I went and studied even more and more and more and more and more. And plus, you know me, I like to play. I'm a big board game, nerd game player, and that's all strategic type things. And football is a lot like that, where it's like, you know, you try to outsmart things and make plays and moving pieces and things like that, and you're trying to see into the future and doing things, and that's why football is so awesome. And it's the same type of thing, and that's why it's really cool. And we have a head coach and defensive coordinator and all those guys who seem to be able to adjust and make plays and do things differently and design things for the players they have. And that's super encouraging and awesome and a great way to be positive and probably end this thing because we've been going on for 25 years.
Well, we're going to cut it down a little. I promise. Promise you that. Hey, you know what I almost forgot? Come on now. I should have led with this. What am I doing? Happy birthday to Brother Ben, who is now halfway to 90. Halfway to 90.
Yeah. I am closer. I'm now officially closer to 50 than 40, and that really sucks.
Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah, well, thanks.
And then one other thing I was going to say about all that. I'm going to say 2 points after what you just said. Paid member of the media.
That's right.
Lifelong Packers fan. And you can learn a heck of a lot by watching that much football and being a fan for that long. And then being a smart guy who analyzes stuff. You don't have to have played to understand some of these things. Now, you may have got to play to understand how it feels to get like your neck crunched in a weird pile of guys and stuff, but you don't really want to understand that. Trust me. So there you go.
Yeah, well, see, I don't understand like blocking techniques or stuff like that, but I understand schemes and pulling and all that, all that different kind of stuff. And then also understanding players and what they can do well and what they can't do well, and seeing, just the different things we talk about on this thing where, guys breaking on the ball and reading plays, and it's fun. I like doing it. If we get 2 fans that listen to us or 2 listeners, that's awesome. If we get 1, I don't care. I'll just you and I talk about this stuff all the time anyways. So it's just like you and me talking about it. We're just putting it on for other people to listen to if they want, whatever.
Right on. And now it's a reason even a scheduled reason for us to talk about it, which is even better. Otherwise, we just talk about it when we saw each other or something like that, or once in a while when we call. But now we have a weekly scheduled call, and our fans demand it.
Yep, our 3 fans. Mom, Dad, and Jason Eckes.
All right. Brother Ben, happy birthday, 45th. Halfway to 90. I love you, brother.
All right, love you too.
All right, we'll catch you
next
week after 3-0.
That's right, 3-0.